Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and joining me today is Cruise Director Sue, Radio Sue, Crafty Sue, Networking Connector Sue,
Mhm.
all of these things. But thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself better than I can.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Samantha. I guess it's my turn to be interviewed since I had you on my show a few weeks back. So this will be kind of fun. I'm not usually the one that gets asked the questions. So that's uh, that's kind of exciting for me. So glad to be here, and I can't wait for us to do some more talking. I am a 38-year radio personality. Been doing it for a long time in a lot of different formats and a lot of different radio stations over the years, mostly here in northern Colorado, up and down the dial from 93.5, where I am right now, all the way up to 107.9. So it's been a long and storied career. I've had a great time with it. I'm still doing it, and I love it. So um, it's one of those things, when you find what you like, you just kind of keep doing it no matter what. So that's my radio part. I do the morning show, and I'm on from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. We are live in Fort Collins, Colorado, and we're also streaming on Simple Radio, or I think Tuned In, or um, I don't know. Sometimes Alexa, if she's in a good mood, she'll find us as well at 93.5 Pirate Radio. So that's what I do most of the time. The rest of the time, I do creative stuff. I make things out of other things, mostly recycled items, and I just sort of put them together in a eclectic way. I like the puzzle pieces behind you there. I sort of like what I do.
Thank you. And one of the things about you and radio that you've told me is, a lot of people think media and think celebrity fame. That's not what you love about it. You told me you love something different.
I like the local connection. I've worked at all different types of stations over the years, a lot of the big corporate stations, and I really enjoy working this local community radio station. It's locally owned by a local owner who's right here in the area. We get to talk to people like you about things that help others in the community. We get to talk to business owners because, of course, you always need to keep the lights on and the music flowing. So we have sponsors as well to keep that going. Radio is not cheap to run, so we do need to. If anybody's out there that would like to become a benefactor, we would love that. But in all seriousness, I do like the part of where I get to meet people like you, get to talk to a lot of local businesses, local nonprofits, local events, that sort of thing, to let people in the community know what's going on around them so they can get involved, they can help their fellow man, all of that. So that's where I really get a lot of satisfaction.
Yes, and you said
I'm Anana famous, so anonymous famous.
and you've met
Oops, my
some of
alarm is
the
going off.
best people. You've had incredible stories with people who you stay in touch with, and so that's what I loved. That people don't necessarily think about that when they think about media, and that's, I don't know you well yet, but that just seems so in character for you, that it's not about that. It's about who you meet, how you can bring other people together and connect. And you're behind the scenes so often, but in the community, you're doing so much.
Right. And that's what I love to do that. And I don't really need the fame myself. I've been doing it long enough. I've met celebrities, I've met musicians, I've worked at big stations, I've had all of that, and it's been a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of fun. But really being a part of the community and helping where I can, not necessarily monetarily, but I can sure help you get the word out about what you've got going on. And sometimes that's more helpful than donation of money, maybe.
And the crafty stuff that you do, which is that, I got super excited. That's just for fun? Is that, am I just noticing things for fun and saying, oh my God, I want to play? Or has it become a little bit more than fun?
Well, it is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I really love to do that part too. As a matter of fact, one of my latest creations is what I call fairy jars. This one doesn't happen to have a fairy on it. This one was actually set up for 4th of July. But it's a little lantern that people can make. I do classes. I have classes down at Makers Mercantile in downtown Greeley. And then I also have my art available out at Santa Rosa Art Gallery in LaPorte. So yeah, like everybody, I'm a starving artist. It's not my full way to make a living, but it is a great creative outlet. And I get to keep things out of the landfill as well, because I use old picket fences that have fallen down at my house. And as a way to get rid of them, I turn them into wall art, to keep them from, filling up, my garage or my backyard or anywhere else for that matter. And that's a lot of fun. It's a way to use things in a way that maybe not everybody would either understand or think about. I see faces everywhere. That's what my husband says. He's more often than normal people. So, and I wish I had a sample to be able to show you right here. I don't think I do have one handy. But
when I saw your post about the fairy lanterns, I told you this when I was at the station. There is something in the loss and grief world. There's a big connection to fairies. And so at my retreats, we're always doing crafty things. It helps us heal. But when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, we have to do it. A fairy lantern. And so I did. I told some of the group that's coming last week, because people are going through it right now. It's a tough time. And it changed someone's blah mood into fairy lanterns.
I know. We're going to have fun with that, right? Going to put fairies on them. I wish all of my lanterns that have the fairies on them are actually at Makers and at Santa Rosa. So I don't really have one to show you as a sample. But if you're on Facebook, you can go to Picket Pals by Oliver Sutton, and you'll see a lot of my stuff on there as well to give you an idea of what it'll look like. But basically, it's a mason jar, and we're going to do some collaging, and it's just going to be fun to decorate it and put a fairy on it, and put your dreams or your grief in there if you like. And there'll be a light inside to help you feel better or not alone, I guess. I'm not really sure what the fairies are supposed to do for grief, but I love the idea and I can't wait.
Some people, I have connected with the angels, and the host my co-host who you'll meet, Shalini, does a lot of work with angels and spirit guides. But I think other people are connected in some way to fairies and feel those same memories, those same change, it's not anything that changes our reality, but it's something that can make us feel more connected. So fairies and angels, many think aren't real and mock, but this is a way to take something that means something to a community and use it to uplift us. And I told you, we do a burning ceremony. We usually release things. And I don't love it. I'm not a fan of adding to any fire or smoke in Colorado.
Right.
So we're going to be on the water. And I feel like there's a way we can do something and still not lose the lanterns. So they'll have them to take home.
Right. Well, and I love the idea of use your hands to create, because a lot of times people will say, I'm not creative. Well, everybody is. And this is a nice, easy way where you're just using glue and sometimes just paper napkins or tissue paper or something like that. And basically you're just painting all these things onto this jar. And it's beautiful because it's something you've made. It's something that your hands have made. And it also proves that, yes, indeed, you are creative.
You also make another type of jar.
Oh, yes. The grateful jar.
Right.
I have a very big one these days because I started doing this in 2012. And I don't know. I got inspired at the beginning of the year. I think in 2012, I was like, okay, I'm tired of writing goals, and not accomplishing them. I'm tired of saying I'm going to do all this stuff and then look a month later and it's gone, or I haven't done any of it. It just makes you feel worse, right? So I don't know if I saw it on Pinterest. Was Pinterest even around in 2012? I don't know. But I saw it someplace where somebody said, write down what you're grateful for and put it in a jar. Well, I took that to mean, okay, I'm going to decorate this jar because I'm me and like to use things and decorate things and, put flowers on things and ribbons and all the stuff. So, and I even made a poem that goes with it. So, and it's just a very simple poem, but it was something that kind of brought the point across. So ever since 2012, anytime I think about it, I write a grateful I have this jar of just, scrap paper. Let's see if I can tip that without tipping it over. Anyway, so it's just a bunch of different pieces of scrap paper and other things that I keep handy on my desk with a pen. And when I think about something that I'm grateful for, I write it in there and put it in the jar. And then at the end of the year, before I empty it and start a new one, I dump them all out and then look through them again to remind myself of all the great things that have happened that whole year. And it's been really fun because there's some things that I've forgotten about. And I went, oh yeah, that's right. Or when was that? If I don't write the date down. So make sure you write the date down.
And so we do this with grief. It is difficult in the beginning to feel gratitude or to find things that we're happy about when we've been through something so painful.
Sure.
So I do the same thing with I've had grateful jars, except I don't think to decorate them. And my point in that was we feel like we're stuck and we never make any progress and we have so far to go, but we can see our jar get full. And so the same thing on a difficult day, we can go in and read some of the progress that we've made that the rest of the world might think is, no big deal getting out of bed today, but we did it. Decorating it makes it so much more meaningful. So I love both of these things.
I do too. And I've had a lot of fun with those. And I do teach a class for that. I usually do that at the beginning of the year when people are sort of feeling a little bit more like they want to try something like that or try something different. But we can do them anytime. So if anybody's interested, I'd love to help you out with that. I'll send you the directions and what to do because I try not to charge for that because it feels like that's something I can give back to other people. So, and you can find a jar in your house like this. The jar that I just showed you is a pickle jar. It's one of those giant pickle jars that somebody gave me from, I don't know, a restaurant or something. And I thought that's finally big enough where I don't feel like I'm overflowing by the end of the year. But in particular, when getting back to on those days where it's a big deal to get out of bed or maybe comb your hair, brush your teeth after a loss or for any reason, actually, those are the days where you really want to make an effort to find something to be grateful for. Hey, my cup of coffee was really good this morning. Or, oh, look at that sunrise. Or, I don't know, my house is clean. It could be anything because the more grateful you are, the more things you have to be grateful for. And there's actual science that goes with that. So it's really helpful to kind of get you out of that place, even if it's only temporarily.
And I'm not creative, right? I'm not good at this, or it's not about making anything that we have to sell or show anyone. I use me as an example all the time because it is so therapeutic, not so pretty when it's the end result.
Right.
I like to write. But I still makes me feel good. And I don't have to care that it's not, it doesn't come out as pretty. And then some people said, could we do this monthly instead of, one jar? And then we could, there's just so many ways to apply it and have something when times are tough. It's not expensive, like you said, and taking your mind off of thoughts and the rabbit holes.
Right.
So do you just use paint or do you, I'm thinking I could cut things out of magazines and.
Absolutely. If you're one of those people that likes to do, the poster at the beginning of the year of your goals, and what you want to accomplish that year. You can do that. I mean, this one's fairly complicated because I did with a friend, we did a YouTube video on how to make these. So we did an entire video of people that could watch us each do our jars, right? So this one, I mean, I love nubby stuff, so everything on here is nubby. I've got butterflies, I've got ribbon, I have collage material, I have fancy papers, mulberry papers, napkins, lots of different types of stuff. You don't have to get that crazy. It's whatever you desire, and whatever you make is beautiful. It doesn't matter.
I have a little rock that's like in the shape of a heart that Jim found on one of our walks, and it's not on this desk, it's on my other desk, but I feel like I could put that on,
Oh yeah,
and that would make the jar also make me think of him. And we all have those things that we keep, a something, a shirt, a blanket, and so putting something like that on it makes me smile right now just thinking about it.
Right.
So it doesn't change. And it's also something we can do with anyone, any age, any style. People want to help when we are struggling and ask, what can I do, or what do you need besides a casserole? And these just being with us and doing something like this. And if I can't make one yet, you could do it for me. Please decorate this.
Right. Yeah. And again, you can't, it's one of those things. And I'm in an artist group. We're a Northern Colorado artist community out in LaPorte. And our whole idea and our whole thing is that whatever you do is art. It doesn't matter what it is. If you write, if you do poetry, if you scribble, if you doodle on, while you're in a meeting or something, it doesn't matter. You're doing art, and it's an outlet, and it's creative, and it's very much you. And there's absolutely no way to do it wrong. So however you design either your fairy jar or your grateful jar or whatever you're working on, just do it. It just feels great. Even if only temporary. I know that grief comes and goes, and it comes in waves. I've experienced it myself. So I understand how that works. My morning show partner passed away 3 years ago, and I'm still, every once in a while, there'll just be this giant wave of, it's a good memory, but it's like, he's not here, and that sucks. But there are ways to sort of help yourself when you're doing those things. I write down something real quick about what I remembered about him, funny joke or whatever it was, just to say, okay, well, I felt that grief, and now I have this great memory that goes in my jar. So.
And I love, there are people who will make something that's going to be incredibly beautiful, but I'm just going to use me again as an example. One of Jim's favorite things is that I do now again, but it took a while, like to make up my own words to songs, sing them my own way, right? And act a fool. And that's something that he loves. So getting back there and being able to do it and be silly. Again, I stand my dogs up, we dance, and it's not making music anybody else wants to hear. I'm not in tune, it's not but it's something that makes us feel good. And I know it took a while to get there. So there are also things we can work towards, and I promise no one wants to hear. The people next to me in the car when I'm singing probably roll their windows up.
Well, same here. I sing all the time in the studio. And of course, because he was my morning show partner on the show for many years, every single song on there at first, was a huge reminder that he wasn't there anymore. Not so much anymore, but every once in a while there'll be a song and I'll go, oh yeah, I remember when we talked about this when that song was on, or a special trivia or anything like that. And now it makes me smile rather than make me sad. So again, it comes and goes, and you don't have to feel, I think a lot of times people feel bad if they smile about something or remember something that was a good thing, but it's okay. They want you to get past it. and feel good about it and remember the good things, I think.
You still have his chair. I got to
Yep.
see all the mementos and meet him. And I
Yeah.
loved hearing about him and your style together, because this isn't typical radio station. While I was there, we played Puff the Magic Dragon, which stayed in my head all day.
Yeah. Sorry, but you're welcome.
Is that you? Is that because I mean it really isn't. If you guys haven't listened, you need to. You have toys, you play games. Has that always been you bringing that piece?
Well, let's see. Our midday gal actually brought in the game. So that was something brand new that you got to try. But yeah, it's always been sort of a fun place, because I know if people aren't used to speaking, but they want to get the word out about their business or their nonprofit in particular, or an event, they sort of force themselves to come on and talk to me, although they're very nervous. But when you walk in, as you know, it's all covered in pirate stuff. I don't know how you can be nervous or upset about that, or not feel super comfortable in that. It was done. I did that by design to make sure people didn't take themselves too seriously, because once anybody gets to talking about what they're passionate about, there's no question that they're going to go on, and do great at it, which they always do. So
Where did the love of pirates come from?
Well, it came from the name of the radio station, and I guess it was called the Pirate Station. One of my stories is that the original owner didn't like to work for anybody else. Was a bit of a pirate himself. But it also comes from where low power FMs started. You didn't have to be licensed. You could just find a frequency and just put your stuff on there. Well, so many people were doing that the FCC, of course, got involved, and they're like, hey, we can make money off of these people. Let's make them legit. So they were sort of called pirate stations, and it might also come from the pirate station that's I don't know if it's still in the English Channel or not, but in Europe, they had one that was just outside in international waters, where they could broadcast into England, if my memory serves, and could get away with that. They could play whatever they wanted to, and they were in international waters, so no one could arrest them or cause them trouble. So I think that's kind of where the pirate name comes from to begin with. And when we got there, 11 years ago now, we decided to embrace the pirate theme big. And if anybody knows me at all, they know that if I get a theme, I run with it.
And you take the pirate out of the station. It's part of you now, even when
Right.
you're not at work. I've seen other posts and things that you do. So how else is it in your life?
Oh, and being a pirate? Yeah, I don't like to work for anybody else either. I'm very much an entrepreneur. I very much like to be in control and have freedom. So, and I like booty. So, I mean, as in treasure, not, but so that sort of fits into my life. And interestingly enough, when I was on a board of a local swim pool for a while, and I was the treasurer, and they would call me Pirate Sue, years before I even got on the radio station. So I think it was always kind of supposed to be, if that makes sense.
We get to live here in this amazing place, and I find people like you who do these things. And then when I tell friends or people coming to the retreat, we're making a fairy lantern or we're making our own candles, they say things like, we don't have that in Connecticut. We don't have that in New Jersey. So these people who are listening, how could they connect with you? It's just in our back door, but do you do things virtually? Is there a way to, because really, really, truly, even though we can all do this, it's not out there. It
Right.
hasn't picked up momentum yet.
Yeah, I hadn't even gotten that far. I was really kind of doing it for fun, and then it sort of took on a life of its own, starting to do these classes. But yeah, I could absolutely do something like that. You can find me on Facebook under Picket Pals by all of a Sutton, or find me at Pirate Radio on Facebook or Instagram, Pirate Radio 93.5, or send me an email SSDEEJAY at Comcast.net. And I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to have fun with this. I've never done a Zoom fairy class. This could be very interesting.
Well, I'm sure someone will say, wow, we could do this too, but there are less of these types of things that we see everywhere, every farmer's market, that, these ideas they're not mine. I find the people already doing it, but it really hasn't spread in a way that there's access yet. So I think that people would love it. And if they can't make it to this retreat in September, they can come next year, but they might not want to wait that long.
Right. Yeah. And I'd be happy to, I always tell people it's not brain surgery. This is something that anybody could do. I'll give you the tools. I'll give you the, where to buy the jars, where to get they're napkins that I use. You just, they're napkins that you buy at the store, specialty store, if you like designs and things, but it is not hard to do. And I'd be happy to spread that along. If it makes somebody happy or makes them feel better when they're going through some tragedy or, some grief, trying to get through whatever is thrown at them at life, I would love to help. And again, with the Grateful Jars too, that is super easy to do yourself. And I'd be happy to pass that along as well.
What is Cruise Director Sue, you just jumping into the role, or is there more behind that too?
Well, and again, my original partner was the captain. So we were the captain and the cruise director. When he passed away, I kept the cruise director because I didn't feel right, early on to take over the captain role. But my listeners kept saying, you're the captain now. You've kind of always been the captain. You're the one who does everything. And I said, well, yeah, I guess. So finally, at one point, I said, all right, I'm going to put it out to the listeners and my Facebook friends and fans and say, okay, should I add captain, to my moniker? And overwhelmingly, everybody said yes. And I said, well, I have to keep the cruise director part because I've said it for so long, I'll screw it up every time if I don't keep that. So I'm the captain cruise director.
Got it.
And I still have to do everything.
Well, you're a busy one. Like no matter what, you are on the go. So what else is happening in your world? You either just got back from somewhere or are probably on your way.
Well, I don't have anything to do until I think your retreat or maybe my friend Robin's retreat in mid-September. So I might get to relax for just a little bit, but I did get nominated for Business Matchmaker of the Year through eWomen Network. And I hadn't planned on going to Dallas for the convention this year. But since I got nominated, I had to blaze down there for a couple of days. And although I didn't win, it was really great to be nominated because that's a big deal. And I was up there with 7 other fantastic women. And it was an honor to be a part of that.
Talk about this. I'm going to go with you to an eWomen Network. I have not yet, but I see everything that goes on. It is not just a networking group. You guys are really close. And the importance of having these communities. It's a big part of our life up here in Northern Colorado. But for people struggling, letting someone in might be tough. So talk about why it's worth it and what you, not only what you give, but what you get being in this community.
Right. Are you talking about eWomen itself or the whole thing? Okay. Yeah.
There might not be, I don't know if they're in every state. So just
they are. It's an international group. You can probably find one, or they'll let you start one if there isn't one in your area. But and I'll be honest right up front. I am not a joiner. I don't join gyms. I don't join groups. I don't do that kind of thing because it can be awkward sometimes, or you pay money and you don't go, or whatever your reasons are. But I was, a little bit hesitant at first when I first was invited to this group, but then I got to know the ladies in this group, and they're not kidding when they give you their values at the beginning of every meeting. They're not kidding about that. They want to make it to $1 million. That's one of the goals, is to get a million women earning $1 million. That's the main goal of the big organization itself. And they want to help you. They're literally with their hand out saying, how can I help you? Every single time. And they're not joking about it. It's not fake. It's not false. It's really what is going on with that group. And I love these ladies. So I joined up, and now of course they put me on the leadership committee, and now I'm completely involved in everything. So it's just been a lot of fun. So if you're again in Northern Colorado, I'd love to invite anybody, any woman that wants to, and men. We've had men come in. It's mostly a women's organization, but you can be an E-man. We have a few of those in the group, not ours in particular, but there are some. And it's just a lot of fun, and they really aren't joking around about helping each other rise together, and that's quite a bit different than what I'm used to. Because you know how women can be sometimes. They get a little jealous, a little catty, and that kind of. These women are not that at all. They're all running their own businesses. They want to succeed. They want you to succeed, and I love that. I equate it with playing tennis with someone who's better than you. I want to play with someone who's way better than me so I can rise to that level. So that's how I see it.
Now there's someone listening who's going to say, oh my God, like I'm not anywhere close to $1 million. I can't join that group.
Me neither at all. But it's the idea of it. And yeah, you don't have to get there. Maybe that's not your goal. Maybe you want to make 50,000 or 100,000 or 20,000, or, you're running a nonprofit. It's like, oh, I can't do that with a nonprofit. It doesn't really matter. It's more about the mindset than the actual dollar amount, if that makes sense.
And just support when we find the right people, right? Yeah. I haven't joined yet, but you're one. And you immediately were saying, I need to connect you with this person. I'll invite you. And that's what you'll get. People who have ideas that you might not think of yourself, or connection that you're looking for that you wouldn't find without. And for me, especially being up here after being in, the Denver Boulder area for so long, I need suggestions a lot. It's not always about business. It could be, where should I find a new dentist?
Right. Yeah. And everybody will bend over backwards to help you with that. It's all, I remember my daughter-in-law came with me one time, and everybody was so excited to meet her because she's a neuro coach, right? So everybody wanted to know what that was and how she did it and how they could help her. And afterwards she's like, wow, I think I need a nap. Everybody was so wanted to know everything about me. It was a little overwhelming. And I said, well, better that than nobody talking to you, right? And she, well, yeah, but I need a nap now. So, if you're looking to get real good connections, I think it's a really great place to start. And it's a lot of fun to go to Dallas every year. I've discovered I'm going to go again next year, whether I'm nominated for anything or not, because it's just invigorating. It really helps you, again, like you mentioned, get those ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of.
And those people, friends and family, are amazing, but they don't always get it. And sometimes they can be a downer or unintentionally shoot down an idea. These are people who are going to say, you want to go to the moon? Let's get you there.
Yeah, let's get you there. Here's the rocket. Go. And yeah, you're right. People don't mean they're concerned. They worry about, your safety, you're losing money, or, your business failing, or all those things. And yeah, those are things that everybody has to think about when you're trying something new, of course. And so they don't mean anything necessarily by that. But yeah, you won't find that here. Everybody's going to go, yeah, that's great. Let's go. How can I help you? So I love that idea. Are you going to come in September? Did I invite you for September or not?
Not yet, but I'll remind you that
I will send you an email. I'll get you hooked up with Melissa. We'll get you started.
What am I forgetting to ask about you? What should people know that we haven't covered?
Well, if you're in the Northern Colorado area, I would encourage you, if you have a business, a nonprofit, or an event that you would like to get some free press on, by all means, get a hold of me, because I'd love to have you on my morning show and promote you. promote your business, promote your event or nonprofit, anything you have going on that helps the community or is part of the community. Our listeners absolutely love local businesses and supporting them. They're very supportive. They're very loyal listeners. I love them for that. They're wonderful. And they really do what they say. If you ask them to donate, they will if they can. If you ask them to go to somebody's business, they will support somebody's business. They'll go to an event. They support our sponsors. That's how we're able to keep going, is that, everybody is supporting each other. And that's what really makes a community thrive. So take advantage of that. You can send me an email. Emails are usually better because I get up. I got up at 2:30 this morning. I don't know if that was the blue moon or what was going on with that. I normally get up at 3:30. So my hours are a little bit different. Like probably I will take a nap after our live here, but have a little lunch and then nap out for a minute or two. But so emails are usually the easiest to get a hold of me. And you can go to our website, pirateradio935.com, and you can find me under one of the tabs. It'll say the DJs or something along those lines. And you can send me an email from there as well.
And so then there's me out here contacting any and every radio station in the world. And there are people who ignore you.
Oh, yeah.
Pirate radio doesn't do that, right? I reached out, you responded, let's get you scheduled. Oh, you're having an event. Let's have you on early in the month and then again right before. So I'm coming back next week to talk about National Grief Awareness Day. That's not the typical response you get. So if you're nervous, Sue will have a game and walk you through it, but definitely don't be afraid to reach out because you'll get a response. And that's not always common in the media world.
Well, and in the commercial radio station's defense, they're all owned by just a few corporations, and it's a money-saving deal. There's not a lot of local people working at the local stations. I've worked with all of them. I know all of them. I love all of them. They're great people and want to help, but there's just not very many at each local level to be able to help you anymore, which makes what I get to do even better because I get to do something that's sorely missing in the community. So, don't be scared. Come take advantage. Samantha survived.
I'm bringing my dogs next time. You told me.
All right. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for making time in the almost evening of your day. Everyone connect with Sue. I will put her email in the show notes so you don't have to pull over if you're driving. And
don't do that.
Join us for Grateful Jars and Fairy Lanterns and more in the future. Where best way to connect with you?
Best way to connect with me would be probably email. Send me a note. So tell them you met me through Samantha, and I'll figure it out and send you a note back.
Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, always be ruthless. I don't know where the end button is, so we're going to talk for
so we're doing the awkward